Hello everyone, welcome back to the Nulyweds channel. I'm so thrilled to be bringing you this episode of our worldwide planning series. Today we are talking to Liz from Weddings by Elizabeth Ann. She is so knowledgeable and so passionate about Cyprus, so I really hope that you are as excited to learn about Cyprus as I was filming this. You can tell my excitement in this episode. I really loved this one. As always, if you want to get married in Cyprus, the details for Liz are going to be pinned to the top comment and in the description box down below. But without further ado, let's get into this conversation. So thank you so much to Liz for joining us today. She is from Weddings by Elizabeth Ann, and she's going to talk to us about Cyprus today. Thank you so much for coming onto the channel.
Thank you for having me here. It's exciting.
So I'm really excited to talk about Cyprus today because I've never been myself and I'm going to learn so much. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your business and what you do and why you do it.
So my business, it's a bit on the new side. It's a COVID business. So it seemed like a great plan at the time to go independent and set up and, let's do the whole independent wedding planner thing. But then COVID came along. So it's been a struggle, but we're getting there. Before going solo, let's say, I worked for a number of venues and hotels here in Cyprus, and before I came here in the UK as well. So my background's always been weddings and hospitality, so it wasn't like I was branching out into a whole new field, which I guess made it a little bit easier, but still COVID came along to test us. I came to Cyprus 6 years ago now, so it's home basically. I originally only came for 6 months, so it's been a long 6 months, should we say. But no, the weddings here, they're really fantastic. They're really beautiful. And I do the weddings basically because it's so happy. It's a really happy business. I liked working in the hotels and the hospitality side of it, but it's sometimes stressful in a more aggressive sense, I think, whereas weddings, it's like a happy adrenaline driving stress. Not saying it's a stress-free job at all, it's really not, but and I love focusing on all the pretty elements, I think. So the aesthetics of a wedding is really important to me, and helping somebody put together what they've seen on Instagram and Pinterest actually to walk into it in real life. It's quite a sense of achievement. It's
amazing. I really love that answer. I've never really heard it described as like a happy adrenaline. And that makes so much sense, and it really does. It really kind of points to the heart of what we do and why we do it. So I really love that answer. So tell me more about Cyprus then, because obviously you love it so very much that your 6 month stay extended to a 6 year stay at least so far. So tell us why our audience should look into getting married in Cyprus.
So a lot of people, when they first get married and think of a destination wedding, a lot of people's brains immediately go to like an exotic Caribbean island somewhere. But then when they start to actually look into the logistics of that, and especially the flight times, they're like, maybe that's not for me. Where actually Cyprus has about 320 days of sunshine a year, and the flight time is 4 hours from the UK. So it's actually quite a good option for that. Going far enough away for it to feel exotic, have a destination wedding, but it's not putting people through an 11-hour flight on that side of things. We've got actually a huge mix of venues and I would say cultures out here. So there is quite a big expat population, which helps in terms of the wedding side of things, because it keeps us up to date with all the sort of the UK trends that people are coming with, that they see in the magazines or online that they want at their UK wedding. They can still have all of that here because we've got enough influence sort of from the UK stream. But then just on the flip side, you've got the really cultural, traditional Cypriot heritage mix as well. So it's quite a nice best of both worlds.
Yeah. Tell me about the landscape of Cyprus, because if I picture Cyprus, I think I'm picturing what you were saying, like the Brits go on holiday kind of thing, right? And it is blue sky and maybe kind of white stone and things like that, but I know nothing of the landscape and coastline and stuff like that. Tell me about that.
So what surprises a lot of people is the fact that we actually have a few mountain ranges on the island of Cyprus.
Oh,
And even in the winter, there's a ski resort up there.
oh,
So
okay, cool.
we do get snow, we do get a winter. But there is so much more than the coast. I mean, on the coast, we've got loads of blue flag beaches. So it's beautiful waters, very safe for families, children holidays, that kind of thing. If you want any water sports, there's all that kind of normal beachy stuff that's actually a really good standard. We then also have the more rugged side of things. So we do have quite a few like national parks. Maybe they're not as the sandy beaches, they're more pebbly, more stony, but that makes it quite good for snorkeling because there's quite a few different things to see. It's not just sand on the seabed. And then when you go inland, you do pretty soon find yourself in the green, in the villages. What's quite traditional for the Cypriots is to have the stone houses. So it's quite a nice creamy stone. So you see that in quite a few places, which is just really beautiful and authentic, sort of with the blue doors painted on, that kind of thing. It's really pretty village life as well. So
Cool. That sounds really nice. That sounds, maybe it's my next move, maybe my next move in Europe. Actually, to be honest, when I was a teenager and my mum and I were looking to move from the UK, it was between Cyprus and Portugal. So
yeah,
it is definitely on my list. I must explore.
it's good, especially if you're into any history and stuff. We've got a lot of archaeological sites. Nicosia is the only divided capital in the world still, so there's a lot of culture. Even if you go to the cities, there's a lot of culture there. So in that sense,
I love that. And tell me about food, because as I said, I've never been to Cyprus before, and I love food and I love to cook and I love to explore new cuisines out there in the world. Tell me about Cypriot food. What could we expect at a Cyprus wedding menu?
So Cypriots are huge foodies. It's great if you're into your food. They have something which is called a meze, which is a bit like a Cypriot version of tapas, let's say. So instead of just having like your starter, your main dessert, 20, 30 different dishes all come to the table and you just pick and you try and nothing gets taken away. So even if you think, oh, that thing at the start was amazing, I want more of it, it's all there. So it's really, I would say, like family food. It's really social. So you're gathered around a table. It's all on sharing platters. Focused quite a lot on seasonal food, which is quite nice. So even if you have like a really nice restaurant and you think the meze there last month was great, let's go again, they've probably tweaked some things. So you'll never normally find the same thing. And it's kind of the same on the meze menus that you have for weddings. So a lot of people like it because they've come out of the UK for their wedding. They don't want the set 3-course with a chicken breast. They want something exciting, and having a meze allows people to try so many different things. You don't really feel like you've wasted it if you don't like something or you prefer something else. And when you see all those dishes coming out onto the table, it's a real wow, we are in for a feast.
I love that. That is right up my alley. That sounds fabulous. And I believe there's quite a lot of flatbreads and dips and things like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I love that.
It's definitely not diet friendly, but
no. No, but it's a wedding. It's like, Christmas and stuff.
Yeah.
You're allowed it off.
It's a day off the diet for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's move away from the sunny, happy, nice things about Cyprus for a second. Let's talk about something that may not be so nice. Let's be a little bit scandalous. What do you think you would warn couples about getting married in Cyprus? What would be the drawback for you?
So we're still kind of on the sunny, happy thing a little bit, but people don't realize that the humidity here reaches such highs, and they kind of think, okay, so what, it's going to be a bit humid. They don't really understand why I'm like, no, don't do it. In July and August, the humidity is sort of like 90-95% sometimes. So you're just dripping from the minute you wake up. It's just such a close, sticky, uncomfortable heat. Even in the nighttime, even when the sun goes down, it's still that really close heat. So I know it's unavoidable for some people. If you're in school holidays, it has to be July and August. But then really, you need to embrace the sunset ceremony thing, because it's the only chance you're going to get of a pleasurable day, really. That kind of leads on to another point as well. So in the UK, you would have weddings maybe 11, 12 o'clock, have your wedding breakfast sort of mid-afternoon, and then have like a second food serving later on. That's like your standard setup. Here, with the sun and everything, we tend to base the wedding ceremony around the sunset time. So we work backwards from the sunset to make sure you're going to get the best of your sunset photos, and people aren't going to be exposed to the sun for hours on end. And that can be a bit of a shock for people. When you tell them, okay, we're going to book your wedding in for 5 o'clock, they think, oh my God, the day's over. Like, my wedding day is done. It can be a bit of a shock to the system, but then normally when you work out, the timeline, you're not getting up at 6 a.m. to start your hair and makeup. It does actually work in your favor a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this is a bit of a running theme with a lot of destination weddings in general, especially in hot countries. Like, people just can't survive with the midday thing. It's just not a good idea. But that's so interesting. It sounds a lot like the Caribbean, actually. Like, I'm from Antigua. So I remember getting off the plane from the UK in Antigua and just feeling like a blanket is covering you automatically. That humidity, you just like, you always feel a little bit sweaty, and it's a little bit uncomfortable. It sounds so much like the Caribbean. I really need to go. Okay, I'm excited to come.
Focus on the bad bits, but we do also get a bit of like a Brits abroad press, which is something I really, really, really want to come away from, especially with my business. We were just recently featured on, I think, Rich Holiday, Poor Holiday, or some kind of series like that, and I was cringing the whole way through it. You do, when you look at maybe some tour operators or things for holidays in Cyprus, there is that all-inclusive holiday resort aspect. Yeah, we have it. It caters for you if you need that, but that's not what we're all about. We have amazing sort of villas, self-catering options, sort of eco-tourism is really a thing up and coming here, which some of the venues are focusing on as well. So it's not just what you see in the holiday brochures. There is a whole other side to that, which can apply to your wedding as well.
Sounds really exciting. Like, seek out the authentic Cypriot experience. Yes, absolutely.
And there's so much when you start looking.
Oh, absolutely. I can understand that, particularly coming from Portugal, where everything is about the Algarve. There's just so much more, and I believe that every country has all of those sides. There's super touristy side and the really authentic, gritty, homely side. Beautiful. So let's circle back to the weather a little bit. Let's talk about when is the best time, since we're avoiding super high season, maybe a bit sticky, only if you absolutely must. When is a better time to get married there?
My personal favorite month here is November. And people always think, what? That's winter already? You're crazy. But no. So July and August, like we said, really high daytime temperatures and humidity. September for me is basically just an extension of August until the end of the month, basically. So by October, November, the temperatures, they're still high. So you can still have like your holiday, go swimming in the sea, but you're going to be much more comfortable than your wedding day. And we do start to get a few clouds and things in the skies, which I know people think of seamless blue skies, but in your wedding photos, when you have a few clouds and the sun's coming through, it's so much more beautiful and interesting in your photos to have that really atmospheric sky than it is just to have an expanse of blue. So November's my favorite month. The sea is still hot and things as well, so that's really nice. But it's a little bit quieter as well, it's people just don't think of it as a holiday month. So it is slightly quieter if you want to avoid the crowds, and you do start to see a drop in prices as well in November. But May is also really popular, insanely popular month. I think May sounds just like summery and nice. So people think, May is where I want. And May does have longer evenings as well, because when you get to the end of the year, our sunsets are quite early. It can be like sort of 5:30, 6 o'clock, and you're in the dark at the end of the year, so once the clocks change. But in May, you get that extension in the evening of sort of later sunsets and that kind of thing. So
lovely. So if high season May, if low season November. That's really surprising. That sounds really cool. So I'm going to give you a little scenario then. We have an Canadian couple today. We are shopping for a Canadian couple. They want to get married in November. They want to get married in November, and they have around 50 guests. What would you say is a ballpark budget that they should start with?
Question that everybody dreads, right?
Oh, absolutely. But I love asking it because I like people. I like to challenge people.
So most of the venues here, they don't really change their prices based on month or day of the week. It's just kind of flat, which helped actually with the planning. So you just know that this is your price. That's it. Some places do have winter offers and things, but generally it's quite flat. So for 50 guests, like I said at the beginning, I like the sort of aesthetics of the wedding, and I do want to make it really a beautiful atmosphere, a beautiful setting. So generally the couples that are going to come to me will have a focus for that as well. So we will include maybe some rental items of furniture and things to just lift things up from what's available as a standard, fresh flowers for sure. So if 50 guests, you're probably looking at 20,000, and you could have a complete wedding. 2025 if you want something a little bit more
elaborate.
But yes.
Okay, nice. Okay.
Not break the bank, but
yeah, no, it's a good place to start. It's an excellent place to start. So 20,000. Okay, that's cool. So let's stick with our Canadian couple for a moment. Our Canadian couple want to physically sign their papers in Cyprus. How do you feel about the registering to marry process? Do you recommend it for foreign couples? And how easy do you think it is?
Generally, the paperwork's quite simple. It helps that English is a national language here, so you don't have to pay for translations into Greek or back from Greek. So if you're in an English-speaking country anyway, your papers are just accepted as they are. Plus, a lot of people like the idea of actually getting married on their wedding day. They don't want to have like a secret little ceremony a week before or something and then pretend to do it again on the day. There's just a little bit of, I don't know, psychology or something in this is my actual wedding day. So it's quite straightforward. Sometimes you may need to go to the embassy sort of after the wedding in Nicosia, but we can organise that anyway. It's just sort of some stamps from embassies or Ministry of Interior, something like that. So it's nothing too lengthy or too costly. Pretty much most countries we've had no real issues or like, oh my god, I can't do the paperwork. It's if you give it enough time, because no matter what country you're in, it seems to be if you're contacting embassies or government offices, it's going to take a while to get copies of this or copies of that. And just give yourself time, and generally the papers that we need, there's not a huge list and they're relatively simple. It's just sort of one paper normally to say, yep, I am who I am and I'm single and I can get married. It just depends, what authority that needs to come from, and that's it. So it's very nice and easy to actually get married here.
I think you are possibly the only destination planner, wedding planner so far who has said that. You are the exception to the rule, but that's great. Like if you are intending to actually get married on your wedding day, like most of my couples are vow renewals at this point, right? Yeah. Like they've already done their wedding, possibly a couple of years ago now. And when their actual day comes in Portugal, it is a vow renewal, Yeah. But if you want your actual wedding date, then Cyprus could be a fantastic option for you because it's nice and easy. That's cool.
We have the churches here as well, so even if you wanted Anglican or Orthodox or Catholic, you can have those ceremonies here in Cyprus as well. So there's quite a good mix to actually be married.
That's really good. It sounds like it ticks so many boxes. So let's circle on to venues and nice pretty places, because I love a good venue, and so do our audience. Tell us some of your favorite venues in Cyprus.
So I think one of my top ones, if not the top, is probably Minthis Resort. It's a golf resort, so it's about 20 minutes inland. They've just got the most beautiful setting with some hills in the backdrop, which you just have no idea how amazing they are, especially at sunset. It's obviously very lush and green being the golf course, but they have so many olive trees and things dotted everywhere, some beautiful rose gardens, herb gardens. They're kind of a mix. So they have a 12th century monastery on site, which is again that really nice creamy Cypriot stone, which has that sort of rustic, more traditional feel. But then their clubhouse, it's a blend, I would say. There's a lot of glass, a lot of wood. They've really designed it to be quite modern in when you walk in, but it's not sort of like so modern that it's an eyesore and that it sticks out, you know. They've managed to blend it really well, and they're actually focusing quite heavily on eco weddings and sustainability as a resort in general, which is a move a lot of people are making. But it's a little bit slow going to Cyprus, so they're one of the first sort of focus on traditional food and local food, especially within the kitchens and things. They've even, you know, got the wooden chairs rather than plastic chairs. They've got quite a good focus on the eco side of things, and their food is to die for. They do some incredible wine pairings and things. They're really kind of high up there on the food. Love that one. We've also got Alassos, which is a fairly new venue. It's on the coast. So if you sort of think Cyprus, I have to have the sea, this is a really good one. It only opened a year or so ago, so it's still very new and fresh. And they have this gorgeous fairy light ceiling, which comes as standard. So a lot of people are quite happy with that sort of feature to be underneath the fairy lights. But you're not actually on the beach. So some people feel a bit uncomfortable being on the sand. Their ceremony area is a grassed area overlooking the sea. So it's perfect for that. And then if you do want to be on the beach, generally the beaches in Cyprus aren't private, so they're public. So they have the sunbeds on from the municipality, which is a little bit of an off-put. You think, I don't want to see sunbathers when I'm walking down the aisle. Coral Residences, though, it's brand new, opening this year, and they're on a beach which isn't run by the municipality, so there won't be any municipal sunbeds on there. It's also got a clubhouse on site, which is just a little bit more luxurious than what you think of beach weddings. So if you think, I want to get married on the beach, but that doesn't mean that I want a really casual wedding. I still want the nice food and the nice setting. It's got all of that there with the beach. So it brings everything together.
Sounds wonderful. That sounds like a great selection. We'll have some photos on screen. I'm sure everyone is drooling over them. Are these accommodation? Do they have accommodation on site? Do they all, or only some?
Minthis is building a resort at the moment. So from next year, they will have like an amazing village square set up with some restaurants and then sort of private villas and rooms on site as well. So it is an option to stay there in the future. Alassos is self-contained as a venue only, but it's really close to Paphos, so the accommodation is easy to find in the resort. And then Coral Residences, it has some villas and apartments on site as well. So you can choose to stay there maybe just for the wedding night or the night before to get ready there, and then still go back to your hotel for the rest of your holiday. So.
Okay, wonderful. No, that sounds really cool. Thank you so much for giving those recommendations. We will leave the links to them in the description box down below. I want to thank you so much, Liz, for coming onto the channel. It's always a pleasure to talk to you as always. Where can people find you if they want to get married in Cyprus?
So we've got the website, as well as my Instagram page and the Facebook page. So.
Wonderful. So we will leave those links down below and on screen and pinned to the top comment as always. But for now, I will love you and leave you. Thank you so much for coming onto the channel. And I hope that everyone enjoyed this conversation. See you soon. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.